Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. Steve Hall here. I have just spoken to Goal.com's Neil Jones about a wide range of topics for our JOURNO Insight show over on Redmen Plus. Going to show you a clip from that show now about Liverpool's summer plans, including the interest in Gvardiol, Joe Gomez, Joel Matip, all that kind of stuff. Just to let you know, if you want to watch this entire show over on redmenplus.com or indeed listen to it as a podcast, if you sign up to redmenplus.com as a Redmen Plus club captain and use the code JOURNO, JOURNO, on the payment screen, we'll give it to you 99p a month for the first 3 months. Huge discount. So if you want to check out this entire show, go over there to Redmen Plus. Here's the clip. Josko Gvardiol, obviously anyone who watched Manchester City versus RB Leipzig yesterday evening at the time recording will have seen he scored Leipzig's goal in that 1-1 draw. Fabrizio Romano was speaking about him. Transfer guru himself, basically saying many top clubs are monitoring him, including Chelsea. Obviously Chelsea wanted to sign him very recently. They want him last summer. Man City and also Liverpool, there's a lot of interest around him. Leipzig wants him to be the most expensive centre-back ever. Liverpool have sent their scouts to watch the player multiple times in the last couple of months. You spoke a few weeks ago, you wrote it and then you spoke about it on this show, like there's chatter that this could be the end of Joel Matip's Liverpool career by this summer. We've already discussed today, like Joe Gomez's positioning within this squad now is severely in doubt because it's hard to rely on that guy at the moment. Ibu Konate's injury record is a concern. I think Virgil van Dijk isn't Virgil van Dijk of a couple of years ago. So you've been saying for a while there's a centre-half conundrum coming down, and there it is. It does feel like, again, something's going to happen at centre-half, whether it's Gvardiol or something else, but he would be, he ticks a lot of boxes in terms of age, profile, how many games he's played, the club he's at. If you're making a list of things Liverpool like, he's on a lot of those.
Yeah, probably apart from price, isn't it? It's probably the only one.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the most expensive centre-back ever. He's really good, isn't he? I think we saw it at the World Cup, really. I know his World Cup gets remembered for sort of Lionel Messi making a mug of him, but a very harsh sort of way to think about. He was one of the best centre backs at the World Cup, and that's on Messi as opposed to on Gvardiol. I watched the Leipzig game last night actually in the airport in New York, and I watched the second half of it, and I thought they were brilliant. Leipzig, I thought they were really good, and he was a massive part of it. I think he's gonna go to a top club. I think there was a comment, I think Marco Rose, the coach, said something along the lines of, we are having him next season. He will be a Leipzig player next season. He said he's made no secret of the fact he wants to play in the Premier League, but he never said when. I think that was a quote I saw. He's going to play in the Premier League, I think, quite clearly. He was talking about, I think he was talking about close to joining Leeds, wasn't he, a while back?
He nearly joined Chelsea.
Yeah, he nearly joined Chelsea last summer. I think he nearly joined Leeds maybe when they first came up into the Premier League. Which I think they'd have done all right. Mm-hmm. They probably wouldn't be where they are now if they had him at centre-back. He's going to play in the Premier League. He's going to go for big money. No question about it. You look at him left-sided, centre-back, rare in themselves, high level, good on the ball. He looks like a winner to me. He looks like someone who's, he's a leader almost. I don't know about him, sort of, whether that's how he's seen at Leipzig as a big communicator and that kind of thing. But the way he plays is one that sort of I could see people following him, and saying, "Oh yeah, go on, that's great."
Is he someone whose name you've heard come up in conversations? Because you've been on this actually a long time. You've been saying it to me for a while on air, and I feel like centre half is something that they need, because everyone's been going Bellingham midfield, Nunes, Mount midfield, and like actually no, there's something over here. I'd like to think Liverpool have got a list.
You would definitely think so. I mean, they've put themselves in a. It didn't feel like a problem, did it? 10 months ago, four really good centre backs, on the day. But you've seen Matip lose his way. You've seen Gomez lose his way. Konate's obviously had a season disrupted heavily by injuries. So is Virgil van Dijk. His 4-man injuries have dipped, or form has dipped, and injuries have struck. Gvardiol's a left-sided centre back, so that's Virgil's side, isn't it? So succession planning would tell you probably a left-sided centre-back in the next year or two definitely must be on the agenda, mustn't it? You can't expect any player to go into the sort of late 30s, let alone one who's had an ACL injury. He might, but you still need to be sort of thinking about what comes down the line. I haven't heard Gvardiol sort of suggested as like, oh yeah, he's the one Liverpool want, or he's on a list. But listen, if he is not on a list, then they're not doing their job properly, are they? There's not many world class centre backs that I see, potential world class centre backs. I think you've seen how much clubs have struggled to find centre backs. Chelsea are still relying on Thiago Silva. That they've spent a lot of money on players that you'd say are maybes. Badiashile and Wesley Fofana, people like that. City have obviously ended up sort of getting a surprise signing in someone like Akanji and Nathan Ake. They were players who you wouldn't have said, oh god.
Did they spend big on Ruben Diaz?
Yeah, of course. But even he's been in and out the side this season. Laporte's been in and out the side. There's a lot of clubs. You look at Arsenal, bought Ben White for big money and end up having to play him at right back.
Mate, I've got the list here because, as you mentioned before, about Leipzig saying about the most expensive players.
Yeah, so Harry Maguire's
top. De Ligt is second, doesn't even play there anymore. He's
gone.
There's Van Dijk, Fofana, says Liverpool. Fofana obviously to Chelsea. Lucas Hernandez, Ruben Diaz, De Ligt again. Obviously the second one, Hakimi. So Marc Cucurella's on there. Like the list of if you're talking about the most expensive defender of all time, it's about £78 million for Harry Maguire. That's the one where you think, right, because we know Liverpool are in need of major midfield surgery. We know that if the money is all going towards that. I know the comments therefore from Leipzig actually could help Liverpool out. If we're not going to sell him this summer, it's the year after. Yeah. Because Liverpool we might have to go one more. Again, Joel Matip's future dependent, but if they're going to, that might be something that actually benefits us. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't. And also, listen, I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit with myself here, but you don't know how them centre backs can look $1 million if you can sort the rest of the team out. They can have cigars out next season, and you look at Joe Gomez and say, "What's a player? Rolls Royce." Look at him, just sort of bringing the ball out from the back and having to do the odd occasional run back towards his own goal and stop a counter attack. At the moment, all of those players look massively exposed, and confidence is low, and they look insufficient at this moment. We know that somewhere in there is a Premier League title winning centre back in Gomez, a world class centre back in Van Dijk. I think will be a world class centre back in Canate, and Joel Matip's been an excellent player for Liverpool for many years. I think Matip is the one that I think Liverpool will sell him in the summer. I think he will go. The fact that he's not in the side at the moment is a reflection of that. And that. He's had his own struggles in recent weeks, not least in that the Wolves and the Brighton games. He's not had a good season. If you're
trying to get a new contract, which is probably what he's after, because he's down to he's coming up to a year left. This isn't the season you want to go into that.
No, exactly that. And if you're thinking about Liverpool, we're talking about money and we're talking about saleable assets. He's not a particularly saleable asset because of his age, but he's more saleable than a lot of others. And Joe Gomez has got a new contract in the bag. He's a homegrown player. He plays right back. He's still young enough that you say, well, he can still take another punt on it. I'm not sure I would necessarily, but I think Liverpool probably will. I think Matip's the one that you're looking at and saying, well, if we are going to bring in a centre back, I think it's going to be a Matip replacement, which probably rules out Gvardiol at this stage because of a the price, but also where he plays. I think that would be a right-sided centre-back.
I suppose, Neil, as well, if you, again, we do this often, the sale of assets and money stuff. Like, if Liverpool, we are worried, not so much worried, but we're talking about money, and obviously we imagine a lot of that, if not most of it's going to go on a midfield. Selling Joel Matip, and again, I've been saying this for how many windows, but selling Nat Phillips, and then just bringing one in, and then you've got like a Reece Williams or something as your fifth option he's around, or whoever it is. That could be one way where, because that's the thing I'm thinking now, is like, signing fourth choice players, I'm never a big fan of it because you're thinking, well, they're fourth choice for a reason. But maybe if you can offset it by selling those two and get yourself a really quality player, maybe someone who goes above Joe Gomez in the pecking order, I think that should be the ideal situation.
I think, to be honest, just to move on, just a more general point, I think Liverpool have to, they can't think like that. They can't be thinking we're going to buy a squad player. This is the team now, isn't it? This is not our benches week. Or we need another game changer to come on and in tight games or to help us compete on multiple fronts in the cup competition. This is the team. The actual team is weak at the moment or too weak. Yeah. So this has to be players who you think they can be our first choice. All right, maybe not immediately. I think Canate is a good sort of benchmark, if you want to call it that. I don't think anyone, or I don't think everyone sort of thought, well, he goes straight into Liverpool's team. Canate. I don't think people thought about Luis Diaz when he signed. I don't think everyone said, well, he's straight on the left. They still had Mane, they still had Firmino, Jota, but they knew that he was capable of it. They knew that he had the talent, and he showed it straight away, didn't he? Canate took a little bit longer. You've seen Núñez. I think Núñez is coming into his own, or will come into his own in the coming months and years. But he's another one, isn't he, that, at the start of the season, I think he started the season on the bench, didn't he, at Fulham? But you knew that he will get in the team at some point. He will be capable. You can't be buying sort of Shaqiris and people like that, and Minaminos. You're saying, well, they're just a nice little pick up there, and they can go on the bench, and in certain games we can bring him on. It has to be now players that now he can come in and immediately sort of challenge to strengthen the first 11, and that's where Liverpool are at. So whoever they sign, whether it's a centre back, whether it's a midfielder, whether it's a forward, whether it's another goalkeeper, almost, they need to be players who, in any given game, you can say, well, they're going to start, and if they play well, they keep the shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking then to the centre back plans, it feels like, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like it could be Phillips and Matip out, and maybe one coming in, as well as a midfield, maybe 2 or 3. Like, that's a big summer. Like, that's very un-Liverpool. Like, not only in terms of money, which we know, like, it isn't always available for a variety of reasons. And secondly, just in terms of actual turnover of players.
Yeah.
That would be like that. That would be the rebuild, and almost like, 3 in, 5 out. That's very un-Liverpool like, but I suppose that's where we found ourselves now. That's needed. Yeah. It's almost a necessity now.
Yeah, and you look at that. If you want a benchmark or a barometer of sort of what they need, really, you look at that sort of June 2017 to July 2018. Robertson, Salah, Fabinho, Van Dijk, Alisson, Keita. They all came in for big money, except for Robertson, and to go into the first team. They were signings that were made to strengthen the first team. That's what Liverpool need now. They need sort of 4 or 5 players that can be part of the next Liverpool team. I think they've got some of them already. I think Canate, I think Núñez, Diaz, promising signs from Gakpo as well. Yeah.
I want to speak to you about Joe Gomez, if you don't mind me doing that quickly.
Okay.
Is he a little bit lucky, maybe, that so much change is needed, and also we think Joe Matip might be on his way out, because the ruthlessness inside you could go, you know what, we might just give up on him. Yeah. And the fact that he's English well helps with the homegrown stuff, because he feels like, you need new wallpaper in the living room, but by the way, the kitchen's flooded, so you can't. It needs doing, but we're not going to do it just yet, because I mean, the more people you listen to about Joe Gomez, and unfortunately, the more we see of him, it's getting worse. It's getting to a point where, like, you've got a lad in your team and you don't think you can rely on anymore. And that, again, we haven't been there for a long time, really. We've been, I mean, since maybe Dejan left, and everyone was a bit worried about Dejan. Since then, really, you haven't had lads in your team, and you're thinking, I just don't know. We can't rely on him. We don't know what we're going to get. We're worried about him playing. Very rarely do we get that.
Yeah, and you're right. I worried when he had the injury that his injury history it's appalling for him. In terms of his.
And a lot of man is
poor lads. He's had so much. He's had a broken ankle. He's had a broken leg. So he's had ankle ligaments. He's broken leg, cruciate ligaments. Patella rupture. 25, 26 years of age. So much sort of wear and tear on him. But not only that, so much sort of time lost developing his game as well. In terms of training and we know his gifts. He's lightning quick.
But the fact that he got to that ball in the first place ahead of Vinicius, that just shows he has got that.
Well, also,
and he was in the right place.
the one criticism, listen, bottom line, Joe Gomez is a great guy, right? So this is not gratuitous criticism of Joe. This is me not wanting to say these kind of things, but his weakness, Joe Gomez's big weakness, is Liverpool's big weakness this season. He's not aggressive enough, whether it's in the air, whether it's on the ground. The foul he gives away on Vinicius is him almost forcing himself to be aggressive, because he knows he can't afford to sort of not go in for this tackle. But actually, he either needed to be completely right through and take everything, or stand off. But he's between, because he doesn't know what he's doing something that he's not comfortable doing, flying into a tackle, and he gives away a free kick. But that's his weakness. He's not aggressive enough. And if Liverpool are going to be what they are and get that gnarl and that snarl and that real sort of energy and all those kind of things back that we associate with them and we associate with the Jurgen Klopp side, I'm not sure he's there. I'm not sure he's going to be able to be part of that. Maybe we'll be proven wrong. Maybe look, he has to work through a bad patch and he gets a run on the side and the manager says, look, you're my guy. Just come on, get yourself back to where you were 2-3 years ago. I don't see it.
Thanks very much for joining us for that one, guys. Like I say, if you do want to go and check out the whole show, either in video and podcast form, do go over to redmenplus.com, sign up as a monthly club captain, use the code JOURNO, and you'll get it for 99p a month for the first 3 months. We'll be back next week with another one. See you in a bit.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the show. Did you know that if you become a Club Legend subscriber, that's a yearly Club Legend on redmenplus.com, we will send you 2 instant free merch codes to get yourself some decent clobber from Redmen merch. So it's a no-brainer. Go and do it.